Welcome to the Chase and Embrace Show, where we interview women who are chasing God and embracing His purpose for her life, with the hopes to encourage you to do the thing that God is calling you to do. Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming to the Chase and Embrace Show, and where we interview women who are chasing God and embracing His purpose for her life, with the hopes that you have the courage to do the thing that God wants you to do. And so today I'm super excited to have Catrina Freisen with me. She's an actress, she's a singer, an author, a minister, a business owner. She's doing all the things that God has wanted her to do. She is a true woman that is chasing God and following His purpose for her life. And so, Catrina, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So the thing that really I love about your story is that you were on your way to Hollywood, and yet God had another purpose for your life and kind of did that 180 turn. So tell me about that journey of like wanting to go to Hollywood, and yet God had another plan.
Yeah, I have always been a singer. I was the kid who always sang in the church choir, in the school choir, in the talent shows, all that kind of stuff. And singing was what I wanted to do. Whenever an adult asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be a singer. That was it. And I worked a lot on becoming that. And I actually started singing professionally when I was 15. And it was just one of those things where I was in a show, a school play, and the manager of a new girl group had approached me about being the lead singer of the group. And shortly afterwards, of course, I joined the group. We recorded. We won a contest that allowed us to be recorded, and, had my first single at 15 years old, which was a big deal.
What was the name of the single? I have to know.
It was called My First Love, one of those teeny bopper songs.
Yeah.
And so funny. It was, for me, it was my big break, because I was immediately, we started touring, opening for bigger acts. And in the pop scene, and, I met a ton of people in that regard. And it was one of those
I have
things.
to know, who did you meet? Sorry to interrupt. Who did you meet? I just have to know.
Okay,
I think we're about the same age.
It's so funny. I literally, we opened up for Bobby Brown.
Wow, that's amazing.
We had lunch with the Fat Boys, literally at McDonald's, which was like the coolest thing ever as a teenager. All these different, rap groups, like with Run DMC, like all these different people were coming through our town, because I'm from Saginaw, Michigan. And, different people would come to town, but my manager knew, connects with all these people. So every time someone came to town, we were like there. And, I met New Edition. Just all these different people.
Wow.
And so I was like living the dream as a teenager.
Man.
And just having the time of my life, because I was in high school, but I was working. I was in the studio all the time, or touring, or doing shows. And it was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in entertainment so badly. But by the time I was a senior in high school, now I'm looking at, okay, I want to get, record contract. I want to, do a full album, because we were just doing singles at that time. But my mom, she said, okay, it's time to think about college. And I thought, are you serious? I said, I have an opportunity to audition for, this big, label in LA, and all of this. And she's like, I don't know about that, but I think you need to go ahead and start thinking about where you're going to go to college. And it was a tug of war between me and my mom.
I bet.
Of what was going to happen. And she's like, okay, so I'm the parent. And yeah, you're going to go to college. Yeah, pretty much. You can ride this out. But once you graduate, yeah, that's what we're doing. And
how were you feeling? How were you feeling when you had, like, your mom's telling you, what, this tug of war? What were you feeling?
I felt like she did not understand. And of course, me being a parent now is so funny. Kids always think their parents don't understand. I felt like I, um, sometimes you think your kids are just doing things for a hobby, and I was always told too, oh, well, yeah, you can sing, but, that's not a real job. How are you going to make a living, And that wasn't necessarily what my mom was saying, because she knew I was passionate about singing, but she saw something else for me. And she's just like, but you need to get an education. Like, if you decide you want to do this when you become an adult, when okay, great. But education is really important, and you need to have as much of it as you can. That was her perspective. And I was just like, but you don't understand. I just met this person. I just met this person. I got an audition for this, So it was like apples and oranges. We weren't really hearing each other, like in terms of the cases we were making. I think they both were valid. And so it was just like, what am I going to do? And I tried to get my grandmother to weigh in and be on my side, of course. And she said, your mom, yeah, I'm with your mom. You need to get an education. If entertainment is for you, then it'll be there when you're ready to go for it. And I'm just like, that's not how it works in this business. Like, you got to take your shots.
You got to take it when you got it.
Yeah. I mean, you just can't miss these moments. It's kind of how I felt. So in the process, what interestingly happened was my choir teacher, it just so happened that her brother was the dean of music at the college I went to. Mm-hmm. She said, I want you to go with me. And I want you to go on a trip with me, because she and her daughter and I were friends. Mm-hmm. And so she said, hey, why don't you come go on a trip with us? And I want you to meet someone. She introduced me to her brother, and she asked me to sing for him. So I did, of course. And he offered me a music scholarship to attend Morgan State University right on the spot. And I thought, he says, what do you think about studying music here? And I thought, sure, yeah, I can, yes. Because the Morgan State University choir, if you have ever heard them, and I encourage you, if you have never heard them, to go to YouTube and type in Morgan State University choir. And I don't have to say another word, because once you hear them sing, I was like, yes, I want to be in that choir. And it was the best. To this day, I say it was the absolute best decision I ever made, besides, choosing Jesus.
Yes, besides choosing Jesus.
It's in the top 5. It's in the top 5, okay? It's in the top 5. It was the best decision for me. It put me in an environment to learn music at another level, to prepare for the career that I wanted to be in. And I mean, just it checked all the boxes, and even some and more. So in that time, I was accepted and everything. And my mom was like, well, hey, okay, I told you to go to college, but I don't think I told you to go that far away. And, okay, I see you meeting me halfway, but I didn't have that in mind. My mom had other, a closer college in mind.
Right.
And I was like, no, this is it right here. God has spoken like this. I feel like this is the opportunity for me. I said, you wanted me to go to college, so let me choose the college I want to go to. I'm going to study music. And my plan, once I got on campus, I was like, listen, I'm going to prepare myself even more, because I'm going into entertainment, hook or crook. I'm doing it. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up, I studied music, but I got into acting. I started doing dinner theater, and I started modeling. And I just started doing a bunch of stuff while I was in school that really prepared me for what I do now.
That is an amazing story. And it turned out mom didn't know best, but it was kind of a compromise, because you got to choose what college you wanted, and you got to go study music.
Yes. Yes, I did get the education, and it was the education I definitely needed for the life that I live now. And so I think all of it was instrumental. It was to me, when you look at all things work together for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose.
Yes.
That situation was that scripture for me.
So where did that lead you into God's purpose today?
Interesting thing happened in college. I told you I was a pop singer, right?
Yeah.
And I want to say my sophomore year of being in school, there was a turning point. God began to send different people to me even though I grew up in church,
Mhm.
to talk to me about him. It was sort
Okay.
of like, well, what about, people just randomly come up to me and ask me random questions about God. And I'm just like, first couple of people, that's no big deal. But multiple 7, 8, 9 people, I'm just like, okay, there's a
Okay.
message here. Like God keeps
God's
saying
trying to
things
talk to me.
over and over again. Clearly, I'm not getting it. But it was what happened was I met a guy he invited me to Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was not interested in going to Bible study. Like I was in a season of not speaking to God. My paternal grandmother passed away when I was in college. I was very hurt over that
Mm.
situation, and I blame God for that. I went, the way my teenage self dealt with anger was to be silent, and so I was like, I'm not talking to God right now, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
why He sent multiple people to say, hey,
Yeah,
I still
definitely.
love
Like,
you.
hey,
Even
I'm
though you're
here.
being immature, I'm still here for you. And I met a guy, he kept inviting me to Bible study. I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Every week I had a
Mm-hmm.
class with this guy, so I saw him all the time. And every week he would invite me to Bible study and I would turn him down. But this one particular time, he said, listen, we have a guest speaker and
Mm-hmm.
this guy is really good. And if you decide that you don't want to, like if you don't agree with the message or you don't like, what you hear, then you can just leave and like I'll never ask you to go to Bible study again. I was like, really? Okay, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Because I thought this is too easy. I can just go in there,
Right.
stay for 5 minutes, and then I'll walk out. And then,
Huh?
that'll be the end of it. And I went in that Bible study and the prideful teenager that I sat in the front. And this minister preached a message or taught a message that was like he had lived with me the past 10 years. It was like
Wow.
nobody else was in the room. He was talking to me. I
Huh?
mean, just literally going bit by bit. By the end of it, I was in a puddle like of tears. Like I just
Huh?
could not stop crying because I knew God had located me. And
Right.
what it did is it made me rededicate my life to him. Because
That's
I
amazing.
didn't know what backsliding really was. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what I thought, but I was like, yes, I'm backsliding. Clearly, if I'm not speaking to God,
Right. Exactly.
I need him. And I rededicated my life to him. And God began to say, I want you to sing for me.
Mm.
I want you to act for me. I want you to
Mm-hmm.
use your gifts and talents for me. And he not only said it himself, but he sent various people to say, well, have you ever thought about singing for God? Or have you ever thought about, acting for God? And I'm just like, how do you even do that? Like, what do you mean? Like, oh, you mean you want me to sing gospel music? That's what you mean. So no, I'm not really a gospel singer. Like I came up with all
Huh?
the excuses, but it was like God began to show up in different ways. Okay, I'll give you an example.
Huh?
I was an RA in our dormitory at that time.
What's an
And we went
RA?
resident assistant. So
Oh, okay.
I had a job on campus. I worked in the dormitory to just kind of look out for the girls on my dorm,
Mm-hmm.
and help and assist with anything necessary. And that summer that we were going home, our boss said, hey, if you have anything, because you have to, when you go home for the summer, you have to clear out of all the rooms because they,
Right.
clean and all that stuff. So they said, if you have anything that you want to leave in the storage, because RAs have to report earlier than other students, you can put them in this storage closet and you can get it when you come back. So I'm dating myself. This was the days of cassettes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I had a cassette briefcase sort of thing, and it had like 30 cassettes, right, that you could hold
Mm-hmm.
in it. And all of it was, R&B, pop, jazz, just a genre. And I had 3 gospel tapes in this collection, right?
Uh-huh.
So when we get back to campus, I go home, we get back to campus, and our boss says we had a robbery. Someone broke into the storage closet and they took a lot of things. I need you to go into there. There are a few things left, but if you go in there and just give us a list of what you put in here, so that we can recoup it. Do you know, Sharon, that the thief stole every cassette I had, but the 3 gospel cassettes, but the 3. To me, when I looked at that, I was like, okay, God, okay, I hear you. I just had to laugh because I was just like, what are
Because
the
like he's
odds?
stealing things, they're all in a hurry, but he actually took the time to take out the 3 gospel cassettes.
Mhm. Yeah. And I was
That's
just like,
hilarious.
are you kidding me? But over time, what happened in me rededicating my life to the Lord, I studied more, I prayed more, I learned to fast,
Hmm.
and God began to communicate like, listen, I want there's a path I want you to follow, and I will
Hmm.
help you follow it. I just need you to be willing.
Right.
And little by little, I became more and more willing. The more I engaged with him, I was more willing to give up whatever he wanted me to give up. And
Right.
I think the last thing on the list, I was like, God, this thing about me singing for you, I really need, let's talk about that. And I had multiple conversations with God about that very thing. He said, listen, I'm not trying to take away what you think I'm trying to take away. I'm trying to
Uh,
give you your purpose. And I was
that's
like, you know
awesome.
what? I'm in. Okay, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
go with it. And I just never looked back. He's been so faithful, so true, so kind, and I have seen the impact of my obedience. Yeah.
Same here. I mean, this show is the path that started in 18 following him, and his
Mhm.
path for my life is this show. So it's interesting is that he only gives you a little bit. If you would have even asked me, like, my pathway started in 2018, if you would have told me I would be doing a podcast interviewing women to encourage others to follow God's path for their life, I'd be like, yeah, right. you know? So I get that. It's just following God's path for your life is really, truly amazing. And it does give you a lot
Yes.
of joy. It doesn't mean it's easy. It's not. And
No.
he challenges you. But the point is that he's walking beside you,
Yes. Very true.
and we're leaning on him. Like I pray before these shows, not because I need to. I mean, not because I have to, but because I need to. I need
Mhm.
him to give me the words and the wisdom. And, I have amazing people like you coming onto the show, and you have a story to tell, and I want everyone to have your story because there's someone out there who needs your story,
Mhm. Mhm.
someone who right now wants to go to Hollywood, but God's telling them, no, I
Yeah.
want you to sing for me.
Yeah.
So tell me, with that, what are you doing now to sing for God?
That's so funny. Well, the journey that I ended up on is, I think, my senior year, right before graduation, God gave me a vision for a company.
Huh?
He just had me write down instructions. I want you to build a company that will become a haven for artists that want to give their gifts and talents to God and to train them. And I thought, well, you could have told me this like when I got here. I don't have a business degree. I don't know anything about business. Like, how am I going to do this? But he guided me every step of the way. He showed me, gave me
Mm-hmm.
resources. He sent people in my path to teach me and mentor me. And I graduated from school. And actually, he sent me into full-time ministry right after graduation.
So you didn't go.
I thought I was going to go right back into entertainment and just do my thing because now I have the degree. And that is not what happened. I ended up being at a ministry. And in that ministry, I was trained as a worship leader.
Oh.
And by someone who said to me, I know that because this is the funny part. I did not tell anyone in this place because I went to Virginia. No one knew me there.
Uh,
And I didn't tell anyone that I knew how to sing. I mean, they had my resume that said I had a degree in music, but I never said anything about my background.
right.
And someone, I don't know how, I still to this day don't know how the person found out, but one of my like supervisors said, hey, I heard you knew how to sing. Would you come to praise rehearsal just to check it out? And I thought, okay, that's fine. And so she said, well, it turned out, she said, could you learn? I want to do you know this song or that song? She kind of challenged me about singing. And I sang, and she said, okay.
Mm.
And I ended up on the praise team. But years later, maybe about 4 or 5 years later, the Lord sent the word through my pastor at the time to get started on your business. So I
Okay,
started.
tell that story, because I know that story. Tell that story, because that's just like, okay, nothing about being put on the spot.
So I went into full-time ministry as a secretary, as an administrative assistant. That's what I did every day in the office, papers. And I'm sitting in church, and our bishop is preaching, as he always does. And in the middle of his sermon, he turns to me. He says, "You have a heart for entertainment. And God has been, you've wanted to do this for a long time. And God sent you here to sanctify you so that you would do it his way. Now is the time for you to pull out that business plan and get started." And then he goes
And
back
he
to
didn't
preaching.
know, right?
I mean, like, if he did, like, I mean, it could have came up in some conversation, but like the way in which, like, I didn't really know
Yeah.
he even knew my name, to be quite honest, at that
Right.
time. I'm just like,
Is
did
he
you?
talking to me?
And he just goes back to preaching like nothing. Like it was just the pause. That moment was like pivotal.
Yeah,
And
for
I'm
sure.
like, oh my goodness. So of course I go home from church, and I pull out the business plan, and I get started. I start praying, God, okay, show me what to do. Show me what to do. And I opened an entity, and he showed me how to do flyers, and I started passing out flyers. Hey, if you want to get vocal lessons, or if you want to get acting lessons, or if you want to get modeling lessons, I'm available. And I went to a sister church that allowed me to I went to a pastor that I knew, and they allowed us to use their youth area for my classes. And
Nice.
so students would come, they signed up, they would come, and I would teach classes. And at the end of those classes, we would do a presentation, like a show.
Okay.
And that's how I got started. My friends helped me, get things together, and they were kind of like my honorary staff to begin with, to get things going. What I've been doing for the past 20 years is I have been training young artists, whether it's singers, actors, models. I've been coaching established artists who, let's say, they may be known locally, but they want to go up another level. And so I've helped to, promote them, or to, help them increase their content, or whatever the case. But I've been training and coaching for the past 20 years
That's
from
amazing.
Richmond. Now I'm in Atlanta, helping artists get, find their mark. And even beyond, because a couple of years ago, I had a Canadian client, which is my
that's cool.
first time I worked with someone internationally. And so, that's what I do now.
So
I'm
tell
still
me,
a worship leader, but, I train people professionally.
Now, is it just for gospel, or is it for pop too?
No, there are so many. Every other genre has trainers.
Right.
Reality shows, contests. Everybody has all of that, but there are very few that are solely sold out to God, because he said, I want you to do it my way. And I want you, when clients come, I say, listen, if you want to be on American Idol, I'm probably not your girl. If you want to, do certain things, I'm probably not that one. And I'm not saying, what I'm saying is there's someone out there, because this is the thing that happens. I meet a lot of parents who say, my child is talented, but I am so deathly afraid of them being taken advantage of, or being out there, doing something crazy that's going to, cause them to be not here anymore. I just can't do it.
Right.
So my promise to all of my young clients, to their parents, is I am not here for that. I'm here to help your child give their gifts and talents to God. So that's how I'm going to teach and train them. It's their choice at the end of the day what they do with their gifts and talents. But what I'm going to deposit into them is an allegiance to him, that they recognize the purpose why they have the talent in the first place. And we'll go from there. So yeah,
because God is the one that. Yeah, God gives the one that gives us the talents.
Yeah,
and then he makes us do things that we're not talented at. But he just leads us the way. Like you didn't know anything about business. You went you knew the singing part and the acting part and the modeling part, But the business is a whole nother side that you
It
didn't
is.
know, but he sent you people to help you with that.
Yes.
And, it's just like this show. It's like he sent me you. You have this great story to tell that you are just, you were a young and you wanted to go to Hollywood, but God had other plans. And now, do you regret going to Hollywood? Not going to Hollywood, I mean?
Not at all. Not at all. In
Yeah.
fact, it's the funny part. Atlanta, which is a place I never thought I would live,
Huh?
literally, there's so much work here. You know what I mean? Like people now, instead of
Yeah.
going to New York and LA, they come here to do work.
Yes. I've heard
And
that
so,
actually.
I mean, the market is huge here. So,
Yeah. I've heard that actually. It's like the second Hollywood almost anymore.
hmm
That's
yeah.
great. So do you like living in Atlanta?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy the warm weather. And I shouldn't even say warm. It's hot here. But
Compared to Michigan, for
for
sure.
sure, for sure. I enjoy it being much warmer. But there's so much going on here in Atlanta in terms of, it's a hub. So everyone brings their conferences here.
Uh,
Sports events are here. Anything that you want to
hmm
do. And if
Yeah.
you don't want to do anything, you can do that too.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what is your favorite thing about following your path to God? And what was the struggle for you to take that leap? Because, one of the things is when God gives you an idea, like for you to sing for me, there's a struggle because you have what you want to do, but and you don't know that God's plan is better for you necessarily. It's kind of a
Right.
control thing.
Yeah.
So how did you work through that? And what was the benefit of you choosing Jesus over like Hollywood? Because what I want to do is encourage somebody. If someone has a plan or an idea for a business, or if they want to go to Hollywood, but God's telling them, no, sing for me, it's scary because he doesn't give us the full picture.
hmm
So you are somebody that took that leap of faith to follow Jesus's path. So what I want to do is encourage these women and what your thoughts were and how did you work through all the struggles and how did you learn to trust God in the
I think one of the things that happened, as I began to really immerse myself in the Word of God, I learned that the amazing things that happen when people follow Jesus. When you look at the
Mhm.
disciples, they gave up their occupations to follow
Mhm.
him, their families and
Yes.
all. And the amazing things that they saw and experienced by doing that. And I thought, okay, well, if he's doing that with them, what would he do with me? If I just said,
Uh-huh.
okay, God, I'll go wherever you want me to go, what will you do? Like, what will you do? And I remember I used to be what do you call it? A beauty pageant queen, a
Huh?
beauty queen. And I had won a pageant and, was traveling, speaking and different things like that. And I was talking to a group of friends about the experience, and I thought,
Mhm.
hey, maybe one day, because I wanted to be Miss America, to be quite honest, in that period of
Oh,
time.
okay.
I was
Uh-huh.
vying for Miss America. And there was an adult who was listening to our conversation, and this was a woman of God, and she said, she was another one of those people who God sent, right? Clearly. She says, had you ever thought about why God would give you a platform like Miss America? Like, have you ever thought that he may want to do something else with you?
Huh?
And I was like, well, I was like, what? Not to be disrespectful, but I was like, okay, where are you going with this? And she says, God could take you all over the world with your voice, you have a presence, you speak well. God could do anything if you surrendered it all to him, kind of thing. And I
Mhm.
thought, okay, I'll consider that. And it was proven, her words came to pass later on where I was at a women's conference. I was leading worship. But
Mhm.
one of the guest speakers was a missionary. And she said at the end of the conference, she says, I'm going to Jamaica and I'm inviting anyone who wants to have the mission experience to come with me. And I just knew, I was like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't know what missions really is, but I want to try it. Right.
Huh?
Because I've always just been curious, and I just felt like, okay, this is an opportunity. I feel like this is God saying I should do this. And I went on the mission field with her. It was like a week-long thing, me and a bunch of other young people. And
Huh?
she found out that I could sing. And so we went into this village, and it looked empty. It was just all these little, what we would call tiny houses, and this
Mm-hmm.
big field. And she says, I want you to stand in the middle of this field. I want you to start singing. And I thought, there's nobody here. She said, I want you to go ahead, start singing. And I just started worshiping God. And all of a sudden, within like 2 minutes, there were hundreds of kids coming out of these little tiny houses, and they were all flocked around me and worshiping
Wow.
God.
That was an experience.
It was everywhere we went. Like, she just said, okay, I want you to sing. I want you to sing. And what came to me was the woman who spoke to me in America and said, God can take you all over the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally have been several countries singing
Mm-hmm.
and ministering, that I would have never just pointed out and said, hey, I want to go there one day. You know what I mean? God
Right.
has
Yeah.
opened up doors for me to minister in places and in opportunities that my voice might have gotten me there,
Mm-hmm.
but he clearly opened the door for other purposes.
Right.
And so for me, it was like, okay, God, yeah, I will follow you. I feel like when I talk to people, a friend of mine, she says, you have done a million things. I don't know how you did all that in your young life. I'm like, I don't either. But God, as long as I'm obedient to him, he opens the door for
Mm-hmm.
another opportunity, which I'm willing
Yep.
to take. I think, I've told you a lot about my my professional life, but I think also the other part of that is when I look at other kids that I grew up with or other people that I've known in my life, some are no longer with us, but in other situations I've seen people disobey God, not follow
Mm-hmm.
his plan, and end up in dire straits. And God
Mm-hmm.
has truly blessed me. I have good health. I'm in my right mind.
Mm-hmm.
I'm safe. I'm happy. Like, I live a rich life, and I'm grateful. If I could,
Mm-hmm.
put one word to the whole thing, I'm grateful. And so
Mm-hmm.
my gratitude causes me to say, God, whatever you want to do, I'm in, because you've done this for me. You've healed me from various sicknesses. You've kept me alive in dangerous situations where I should, someone tried to kidnap
Mm-hmm.
me in Jamaica on a mission trip,
Oh,
a different mission trip. But
wow.
he saved me. You know what I mean? Like, different things happen, and I'm just like, that was only God that I'm still here.
Yeah.
So it moves me to keep to always stay in a place of obedience and a place of gratitude, to do whatever he wants me to do, whatever that is. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
grateful he gives me the opportunity, because the other thing is, I have clients who come to me and they say, I want to be a singer. I want to be a model.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really what they want to be. What they want to know is find their purpose. And in the
Right.
process of working with me, they find their purpose. Some of them, they're like, no, modeling is not for me, but this is. Singing is not
That's
for me, but this
amazing.
is. And I feel like that's really what my purpose is, to help other people
Mm-hmm.
find their purpose in life. It just so happens he brings me creatives.
Mm-hmm.
He brings me
Yep.
talented people who I can identify with and who they can
Right.
identify with me. Yeah.
That's amazing. So if someone's out there and they want to reach out to you and say, I need to find my purpose, or I want to be a singer, or how would you, I mean, do they have to live in Atlanta? Can you do it remotely? How does that work? Like,
No, they don't have to live in Atlanta. Actually, my website is bannerexcellence.com. There we offer various types of services. I train people virtually, just like I'm talking to you. Like, I've had clients where
uh-huh,
I've coached them online. I can train you online, because we had a situation where when COVID happened and
huh?
everything else was shut down, I was coaching online because that's
Yeah.
the only place I could coach. And so, yes, you can schedule an appointment with me to get, if you want to just ask some questions. Some people want to know how to get started in the industry. You can schedule
Mm-hmm.
a session with me. If you want to get trained, you want a vocal lesson, or you want an acting lesson, or you want, different things. Modeling tends to be in person, but you may
Mm-hmm.
be someone who, like, I want to model, but I just don't know how to go about it. I can find wherever you live, I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you where to go to, get an
That's
audition,
amazing.
or, those kinds of things. So yeah, if people can go to my website, they can Google Catrina Freisen and all my stuff will pop up in there. I'm the whole page at this point. But yeah, I
That's
would.
awesome. Is there
And
an age limit, or is there a certain age or that you
uh,
typically coach, or?
the youngest client that I have presently is 4 years old. I tend to work with teenagers and college age people, on
Huh?
up,
Right.
but I am not opposed to children. If your children can follow directions,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm good.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. A 4-year-old.
Yes, I do. I have a
Kind of
4 year
reminds
old
you of
client.
yourself, probably, huh?
My goodness. He's an old man. He really is. He's a kid influencer, but very talented and wants to get into acting. So I've been working with him and his parents in that regard.
Oh, that's awesome. That is so cool. Well, Katrina, I am so grateful for you coming and sharing your story. I truly believe that you are a woman that is passionate for God and following his path. And you are an inspiration to even me, to keep on going and doing the thing that God wants me to do. So I really, really am so thankful for you for coming on to the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me, because I do want to encourage people to follow him. When you're young, you feel like you're missing out if you don't take advantage of what the world has to offer. But the
It's
kingdom
so
has so
true.
much more to offer, and
I
that is what
100%.
I discovered. It really does.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm having you back and we're going to talk about your book.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. So it is not goodbye. It is see you soon.
Indeed, indeed. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Bye bye.